I'm Cindy with Wisconsin Voices for Recovery, and this is Speak Out on Stigma. Today we'll be hearing from Lori from Darjun. Hi, Lori. How are you today?
Hi, I'm doing good.
Good, good. So tell me, what are some of the damaging effects of stigma that you've experienced?
Over the years, my family has had a lot of stigma. Um, I have two daughters that are currently in recovery and a boyfriend that's in recovery. But we live in a small community. It's by Green Bay area. It's a Oneida Reservation. And at the time, opioids are newer, not to the area. So when my daughter became an addict, it was kind of like she was everybody, like our whole family was addicted. They pretty much made it seem like it's like you almost have the plague. I mean, so much happened to us. I lost my home that I raised my five children in, and I paid for myself. I was a single mother going to school and everything. Um, and there was no option. I mean, nobody listened to us as a family of addiction. I always say I'm a family of addiction because, I struggled with substance abuse, or substance use disorder. My kids struggle with substance use disorder. Now we're all in recovery and we're clean and sober, but it doesn't seem like nobody believes that that can happen. And at times people act before time. After I lost my home, I actually lost it in 15 days. Then my son-in-law ended up passing away like 6 months later from being homeless, and having to live in, kind of a pretty bad hotel. And they were working, they were doing good, they were still clean and sober, but it just takes one time, and he ended up overdosing himself. And it just seems like the traumas continue and a lot of it, I believe, is the choices that how people treat you. Maybe if there was more openness, like we just more or less got thrown right out of our whole community, and that's me, my five kids. They didn't care about my grandchildren at all. They didn't even ask questions. It just was, 15 days, you're out. It was 5 days at first. I tried to go to court and fight it. Um, but I mean, it was my home I paid for, and it's just a scary thing that can happen. And then what's really bad too is, like, to this day, I ended up losing quite a bit of weight. And then people come to me and say, "Oh, are you using drugs?" It's like, and it's like all of us, my grandchildren been affected at school. They say stuff to them about, their family and drug use, and they're only 10 and 12 years old. So a lot of it is, people don't think. I always say it's a little bit on the ignorant thinking. They need to be educated on addiction, and that people do have choices, but at the same time, it is a disease, and it's really hard to get out of. Um, it's a lot of trauma. It's generational trauma as well. And I think it's the overall atmosphere of the times. I mean, right now, and it's so common, and it's just scary that you get caught up into that. And it really hurts everyone involved. I mean, my daughter struggled so many times with trying to go to treatment. She actually was going to a clinic, and here when she went in and she begged him to send her to treatment, he laughed. He said, "Oh, you're gonna try this again?"
Mm.
Um, Even though it probably was her, what, sixth time trying to go. And then what did she do? She left and she started using again. And I'm the one who, took her and I sent her to Arizona with my other kids. Two of my other ones went with her, and she's been clean and sober now for 36 months. So, and that's my thing of it. Yes, she's clean and sober. I feel like telling him, say, yeah, she went, look what happened, and, and that's the other thing is sometimes I think people use stigma as a way of hiding their own family's pain, or their own addiction as well.
Mhm.
And they always categorize everybody as being the same, and it's just scary because it just all it does is hurt everybody involved. People have to be more caring. Um, And there's such a borderline in between enabling and helping, but I mean, if we had more caring at the same time, it would probably help out. um, to me, stigma is just a mean way of, I guess, acting out
Mhm.
towards people in general. For example, they always think everybody's a criminal too, as well, just because they use drugs. And and it doesn't necessarily mean that they are. Sometimes it's also their survival mode. I
Mhm.
mean, this person, if they were not in the circumstances they were in, maybe they wouldn't even have did the crimes that they did. Sometimes they steal, or you see, and everybody thinks that they want to do it, and it's not that simple. And like with my family, I pretty much stood behind my daughter. She started using in 2013 heroin, and I pretty much stayed through the get-go. I lost my house in 2020, but I mean, I was there. um, I never gave up on her. So I mean, now it's worth it to me that she's sober today, and she's living a productive life. She's gone to NWTC. She's pretty close at getting her degree. She's got a couple certifications, and I think that's the part that I'd like to see. The stigma is like, if it could change too, they can change. They can make a difference. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to be on here today, is to just say that, guess it ain't, don't judge a book by a cover. The You see these people struggling, that doesn't mean they're going to struggle forever. And the whole thing of it is I you have to give them a little bit of a chance, because you want them to live for another day and to be here.
Absolutely. And you had mentioned there's a couple things that you had mentioned several times about trauma, and stigma feeds into trauma. Stigma
Hmm.
can cause more trauma and really pose that barrier. And then you had mentioned about kids and how the kids are impacted. And that made a connection for you in my mind, that stigma can also facilitate, or not facilitate, stigma can also create bullying, and
Yes.
bullying is also traumatic and a problem. And kids and bullying,
Hmm.
it's not a good thing.
Yeah, for example, my daughter was going to school. I think it was last year. She was eating lunch, and another girl sat down by her, and she turned around and told her, she goes, "Can I talk to you about addiction?" They were 11. And
Mhm.
she said she didn't know what to say. She goes, "Why?" And here, come to find out, that little girl's mom ended up, being an addict and starting using. So my granddaughter ended up, talking to her. It was so funny. She came home and she goes, "Grandma," she goes, "I'm getting to be like you." She goes, "I was talking to a little girl." And I said, "What happened?" And she told me, and she goes, "Do I charge her?" She goes, but I mean, that's, and they're young, and um, it's kind of scary that they had to reach out to each other that way. But at the same time, I guess it's good that they know that. But how did they know that? So I mean, see other kids talking on their own, saying things to her, because I'm sure she doesn't say anything about what happens in her family at school, and and that's what's so scary about it. And then it causes more trauma. I mean, the girls now go to counseling and everything else, and um, they got triggers like with the holidays and everything, and that's what people got to remember. When you're saying, "Hey, look at that junkie," or laughing or making fun of people, or saying, "Oh, she's got acne, so she must be using again." Maybe it's just, whatever going on, and there's so much that goes after. You have all the mental health issues that go on after, and they just have to retraining themselves as well. Just the whole family goes through so much trauma with it, and it's hard. And as much as we've been through, me and my 5 children all stay pretty close together, so that's one thing. And we're just glad today that they are sober, and they're participating as aunts and mothers in the my grandchildren's life now. And that's, I think, what people also they always say, "Oh, they're never going to be a mom again." You know, that's some of the stuff. You know, just give up or just give up on them, and that isn't always the choice. You know, come to find out, you know, one was bipolar, the other one has manic depression. You know, maybe if we would have known things like this prior to this, it might be different outcomes.
Is there anything else you'd like to add before we close?
It's just scary that it's out there. I think
Mhm.
overall the whole stigma, and like so many fall into it. I mean, even like when you're on Facebook, if you see somebody overdoses, all the comments that they say like, "Oh, give them some more," and all this and that, and then it just goes on and on and on. I guess some way we gotta pull ourselves away from the negativity,
Mhm.
because it's almost like it turns into, what do they call that? It's like a crowd effect, that mob effect. There it is. You know, that even though you don't really feel that way, all of a sudden you find yourself in that mode of, thinking below people. To me, you shouldn't think no different than anybody else, because I always say anybody could be an addict. You know, you're one fall, you're one trip away from falling and being on opioids, and who knows if your mind and your body can handle it yourself. You know, you don't know how they got there, and that's one of the scariest things. That if you think about it, I'm sure that um, my daughter's dreams weren't to be where they all everything they went through, or anybody else that was an addiction, and it's just something that happens on the way through.
Thank you, Lori, for sharing your views on stigma. And
All
thank you to
right.
our viewers for watching. Speak Out on Stigma is a forum to raise awareness about the harmful impact of stigma on those in and seeking recovery. Recovery is for everyone. Together, we can eliminate stigma. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video. Thank you and have a great day.